The year is 520 BC. Jewish exiles have returned to a site composed entirely of ruined stone foundations. The 70-year Babylonian captivity, predicted by the prophet Jeremiah, has run its course. The geopolitical trigger for their return was a direct edict from Cyrus the Great, granting the Jewish exiles the legal right to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. But local adversaries immediately intervened. Through calculated opposition and bribes to the Persian court, culminating in a decree under Artaxerxes, they forced the construction project to a dead stop. The builders are paralyzed by this political deadlock. A thick depression settles over the nation. With the physical labor stalled, breaking the stalemate requires a divine intervention. Enter the prophets Zechariah and Haggai. Their immediate assignment is to jolt the civil leader Zerubbabel and the high priest Joshua back into action. But these prophets are operating on two timelines simultaneously. This is the mechanism of biblical typology. The immediate crisis of 520 BC acts as a physical scale model for a future eschatological reality. Reconstructing the physical post-exilic temple maps directly to the establishment of the future millennial kingdom. Zechariah chapters 1 through 6 document 7 specific night visions, organized as a sequential 7-stage architectural blueprint. To understand the mechanics of the coming global capital, we have to decode this historical framework. This blueprint shows the baseline layout for the prophetic visions. It starts with an empty site. Vision 1 establishes the base. A man stands among myrtle trees, laying down a geometric perimeter of peace to represent a restored and repentant Israel. Behind him are riders on red, speckled, and white horses. These act as angelic scouts pushing outward, reporting back that the surrounding Gentile nations are at ease, while Jerusalem remains in distress. Vision 2 reveals the external threat. 4 horns appear. These represent the military powers pressing inward, the specific nations that historically scattered the Jewish people. To neutralize this, 4 artificers or craftsmen emerge. They push back, shattering the aggressive vectors to terrify and actively reshape the oppressive world order. With the threat neutralized, Vision 3 executes expansion. A man with a measuring line maps out a city that breaks the traditional constraints of physical walls. The first 3 stages successfully secure the geopolitical perimeter. The site is cleared, and the divine action now shifts inward. Vision 4 moves from external borders to internal holiness. The focus lands on Joshua, the high priest. Joshua is standing in filthy garments, a direct reflection of the nation's spiritual contamination. Those garments are stripped away and replaced with clean robes, representing a total purification of the national priesthood. This process pleads the way for a figure known as the branch, an ultimate high priest who will permanently merge the civil and religious authorities, ruling as both king and priest in the Melchizedek order. This schematic illustrates how that authority operates. Vision 5 displays a central 7-branched lampstand flanked by 2 olive trees, drawing from both Jewish and Gentile converts. The oil travels through a network of exactly 49 pipes. This number represents the complete, multitudinous manifestation of the Spirit flowing into the central reservoir. This is the mechanism of power. It is this concentrated spiritual illumination, not conventional military force, that violently dissolves the massive mountain of Gentile opposition, blocking the temple's completion. The vision frames global authority as a function of internal transformation, where the priesthood serves as a conduit for the light that overcomes external resistance. Vision 6 focuses on expulsion. The prophet sees 2 women with the wings of storks carrying an ephah, a heavy measuring basket. Inside that basket is a woman representing wickedness. This imagery depicts commercialized religious formalism being forcibly sealed up and extracted from the nation of Israel. The apostasy is transported out of the Holy Land and returned to its historical origin in the land of Shinar, plunging back into the ruins of Babylon. The sequence climaxes with Vision 7, subjugation. 4 war chariots burst forth from between 2 massive mountains of brass. These are the 4 spirits of the heavens. They launch a final belligerent military campaign to completely pacify the global arena. Internal apostasy is exiled, external powers are shattered. The 7-stage geopolitical blueprint for the millennial temple is now complete. That is the theoretical framework. Zechariah 14 provides the physical execution. This diagram shows the two-dimensional blueprint translating into a three-dimensional reality. The arrival of the king at this epicenter triggers a massive, world-altering geophysical earthquake, shaking the very foundations of the earth. This topographical map shows the Mount of Olives fracturing straight down the middle. The surrounding terrain drops into the Araba Depression, elevating Mount Zion to serve as the new global administrative center. From this newly elevated temple, living waters will pour eastward, flooding the arid faults and biologically healing the toxic waters of the Dead Sea. Half of that fresh water will rush westward, emptying into the Mediterranean, to demonstrate the global reach of this new ecological and spiritual system. The physical geography of the earth has to be violently restructured. The old topography simply cannot hold the immense spiritual weight of the New World Order. Jerusalem ceases to be an oppressed outpost. It expands into the capital of the globe. The surviving Gentile nations are required to ascend to Jerusalem annually to observe the Feast of Tabernacles. The millennial city operates under absolute purity. Even the bells on the horses, the ultimate instruments of war, will bear the exact inscription once reserved for the high priest: Holiness to Yahweh. The stalled, ruined construction of the 6th century BC provided the historical framework for the Abrahamic covenant's final stage, a holy Israel through which all nations are eventually blessed.